Rutgers opened their 2016 Big Ten Conference slate with a big statement win against last year's league champion Johns Hopkins, downing the Blue Jays 16-9 in Piscataway, New Jersey. The win is the Scarlet Knights' first over Hopkins since 1990. The game started with mostly back-and-forth scoring, but a 10-3 run from the middle of the second quarter to the start of the fourth, including 4 unanswered goals to close the first half, let Rutgers gain the distance they needed for the win. Stats were generally even, but the Knights were able to cash in on 3 of 4 EMO attempts, as Hopkins couldn't convert any of their man-up opportunities. Shaq Stanwyck's 2 goals and 2 assists, and Ryan Brown's 4 goals on 11 shots led the way offensively for Hopkins. But Rutgers senior goalie Chris Aileen made 13 saves and aided in a perfect day of clearing for the Knights defense. Jules Henningberg's 2 goals and 4 assists, and Scott Beata's 3-3 day propelled the Rutgers offense to the important Big Ten win. Rutgers hosts Michigan next week, while Hopkins returns home for a date with Ohio State.
Welcome to the Epoch ILGameday show. I'm Matt Kinnear here with Jeff Shannon. Story of lacrosse this weekend, conference play really comes into focus. Throw away the first half of the season for many of these teams because now your focus is getting into the conference tournament and winning your conference's AQ to the NCAA tournament. In that regard, we start with the Big Ten, where there's a big conference matchup today between Michigan and Maryland in a snowy Ann Arbor. Very snowy for the first week of April. Jeff, what did you see from this game today?
Interesting contest. Again, I think weather, as we mentioned, the snow played a part in this game. It was tied 7-7 going to the fourth quarter. Michigan did a good job taking what Maryland's defense was giving them, taking advantage of the short stick defensive midfielders for some goals. Peter Krause in particular had a really good game for Michigan, 3 goals in this contest. 4 minutes left, tied. Michigan has the ball, has a long possession, tries a couple offensive opportunities, and they just can't convert. Ball goes the other way. There's a ground ball scrum. Most of Michigan's players are going for the ground ball. Ball shoots out. Brian Cole grabs it, runs it in, scores the game winner in a tight contest. I thought hero for Maryland was Caliburn. Lauren Cage had 12 saves against 19 shots on goal. 41 shots in general came from Michigan's side. They almost doubled Maryland in that stat. And he kind of locked it down in key moments when Maryland was just struggling and playing a lot of defense. And then Cole had the game winner, went 2 goals and 2 assists in this contest. For Michigan, I mentioned Krause, 3 goals for the game. Another guy who had a good game, Chase Brown, who's the one that forced the turnover that set up Michigan's final possession. He had 5 calls turnovers for this contest. Looked really good on defense, but again, this just came down to the weather. Close play, Maryland plays it close, so we're not surprised at the game being that, the score being that together. But again, in the end, the Terps got a victory, a key Big Ten victory to start their conference play.
Syracuse's 100th anniversary party was violently crashed by the Fighting Irish, dominating the Orange 17-7 on the Carrier Dome. Ryder Garsney scored his first of what would be 5 goals on the day a little over a minute into the first quarter. Tim Barber's score at the 9-minute mark cut the game to 2-1, but that would be as close as the Orange got, as Notre Dame scored in bunches, converting settled situations, transition, and early offense. Shane Doss made 10 saves as the defense made Syracuse work for their looks, but the game was won with possessions and potency, as Notre Dame edged out a face-off and ground ball advantage, and Syracuse made 15 turnovers. Mikey Wynn and Matt Cavanaugh also had big days for Notre Dame, as Orange goalie Warren Hill continues to struggle. One bright spot for the Orange was Dylan Donahue's lone goal, getting him to the 200 career point mark, but otherwise this will be a game Syracuse quickly wants to forget, particularly with a now looming final ACC date with North Carolina on the horizon. Notre Dame returns to South Bend for a date with Duke next weekend, while Syracuse plays rival Hobart midweek.
Focused on conference play again. Ivy League, another important conference, so where play is starting. Matt, you watched the Yale-Penn game today. What did you take from it?
You know, number 1 Yale battled back and beat Penn 11-10 in overtime. You had a really, really tight game most of the time, and Yale had to really come back with a 4-goal outburst there in the fourth quarter to tie this up really late and send it into overtime. You know, they're the number 1 team in the country. Some questions if there's a few other teams that might be better than them and behind them, but you know, you really have to be impressed with how they battled back. It starts with their defense. Christopher Keating, 6 calls turnovers. Michael Quinn, 3 calls turnovers. You know, really, when they have a defense that's that disruptive, is able to kind of, when they're behind, you know, they can really go and get the ball back and cause some disruption to go the other way very easily. So this is really the best defense in the land, and you saw it today. But Penn is a really good team. You can't really discount Penn for how good they are and how well they played. I'm really impressed with the way that they can either slow it down or speed it up depending on what they want to do. Many of their goals came very early, quick strike in possessions off of some broken plays and transition. Or if they didn't have that, they really were content to kind of slow the ball down and take a really long 3-minute possession, just to kind of keep Yale on its toes and do many different things. But in the end, what this came down to is, Yale's extra man offense has kind of been criticized all year. The last goal of the game came on a man up with 17 seconds left in the game, so that's huge for them. Then Ben Reeves getting the overtime winner. We might see Yale number 1 in the polls. We might see them slip down. But either way, it's a big win for Ivy League play, which is the most important thing.
Hey guys, Kyle Devitt here with Inside Lacrosse. We just finished up at BU. Lehigh prevails 8-7. It was a sloppy game from both teams, lots of turnovers. BU couldn't get it started just early. Lehigh jumped out to a quick 3-1 lead after BU scored the first goal of the game. Really just an excellent effort overall by Reed Weber from the Mountain Hawks, getting a hat trick in the game. BU went, 14 for 19 on faceoffs. Tauco went 14 for 18 himself. Just couldn't translate into a W. BU had 30 shots. Lehigh had 19. They just weren't quality enough. And 2 backbreaker goals at the end of the second quarter and the third quarter for Lehigh really decided the game, swung the momentum completely for the Mountain Hawks in the game, and that's the result. 8-7. Hard-fought, sloppy, rainy game here in Boston.
Another key Ivy League game. Brown continues its tear through Division I lacrosse. They are still undefeated. They beat Princeton 19-8. Dylan Malloy with 11 points in this game, 6 goals and 5 assists. He's flat out just not human, barreling over his defenders. And kind of with this theme of conference play being so important, kind of your life depends on conference play in this NCAA Division I lacrosse. No team represents that more than Delaware. Delaware, having a disappointing start to the season, has new life in their season after beating UMass 9-7 today. It's the first win over a ranked opponent for the Blue Hens since 2011.
This is Peter Katrumpis reporting for Inside Lacrosse at Koskinen Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Yeah, the lights are out right now, as both teams have gone home, pondering what happened in their game. For the Tar Heels, a 17-16 overtime victory is one that they'll cherish and remember for a while. The 4th 1-goal game difference that they've played against the Blue Devils over the last 4 games together in ACC play. Tar Heels have won 3 of those last 4 meetings. For the Blue Devils, searching to find out what happened and why they couldn't pull it out in overtime in this one, trailing by as many as 3 and up to 4 before coming back and leading by as many as 3 before giving up that lead and fighting back and forth with the Tar Heels until having that last goal decide their fate in overtime. Difference maker in this one was Steve Pontrello leading the Tar Heels with 6 goals and Miles Jones contributing 5 goals and 6 assists for Duke. You would have thought they are the difference in this one, but they weren't. It was a freshman goalkeeper from Carolina, Colin Reeder, who made the difference. 10 saves in total, coming in late in the second quarter, making big stops, including one on Jones in overtime that facilitated the clear that eventually got the ball to Kelly, who beat Fowler in goal for Duke and won the game for the Tar Heels. For Inside Lacrosse, this is Peter Katrumpis.
That's it for the Epoch ILGameday show. I'm Matt Kinnear here with Jeff Shannon. Make sure to gear up for the rest of the season with the Gen 6 Dragonfly Shaft, the Sequel Head, and Otter Mesh from Epoch Lacrosse.